Good morning, lovely people. How are you doing today? I hope you're well. Slightly grey day in London here today, so I'm sitting in the window to get some light and not being in the garden. But I thought this would be a perfect opportunity to talk a little bit more about this life of being beyond frugal, this subsistence life. And I've kind of had all sorts of questions over time asked of me, sent to me. So I thought actually I could probably do it all in a nutshell in one video today. So the theme for today is, how to put it, I suppose prepping for a subsistence life. Excuse me, I'm going to be drinking a bit today because I've got a little bit of a cold going on, I think. A little bit of a cold, a little bit of a chest, not COVID, don't worry. Yeah, so preparing for a subsistence or frugal life. And you may be thinking about that I was thinking what we can tackle today is for one of three reasons. Either because you want to go wage free, or perhaps because you want to take early retirement, or perhaps quite simply because you want to get out of the debt trap you might feel like you're in. And with debt, I'm talking, say, mortgage payments and credit cards. So I should just say very quickly, I am not a financial expert. I do not pretend to be. I'm not a financial advisor. Everything I'm going to talk to you about today in a way it's just sort of from my experience, from experience of friends, and it's just sort of to bring all those experiences together to share because they may just help someone out there. Also, this isn't aimed at anyone who is in the poverty trap because, for example, because they might be on benefits or they might have some kind of private rip-off landlord. That's a whole nother subject. I'm not going to go there. So this is, I guess, aimed at folk who are still working, who are living that kind of normal life of working, paying the bills, the mortgage, the car, the credit cards, all that sort of stuff. It's aimed at you all. And just a word on say, for instance, the credit card debt, or any debt actually. If you are in really, really serious trouble, if you're in a total pickle because of debt, please get help, get advice. I can't speak for other places in the world, but I know in the UK there are loads and loads of services that are free to help you to manage if you've got yourself into that sort of downward spiral situation where you just cannot keep on top of payments, and the interest that is accruing is getting more than you're able to pay back each time. You know, there are deals whereby credit cards can be consolidated onto one new credit card that, say, has a 0% interest rate for a year or even 18 months. That interest-free credit card just gives that breathing space to start paying off some of the actual capital debt rather than continually chasing after the interest. So, yes, whatever your reasons, let's just dive in. I've got all sorts of ideas. They aren't necessarily in a particular order. I would suggest that they all need tackling. Some you want to tackle before others, but generally you'll be tackling all of this. And I'm going to suggest right from the outset a period of a minimum of 1 year, possibly 2 or 3 years. So this isn't going to be any overnight transformation. This isn't going to be an overnight way out of your situation at the moment, but it is the beginnings of the plan to get you where you want to go eventually. So the first thing I'm going to say, and I've done it myself, I suggest it to so many friends, declutter. Now, I'm not talking about hoarders. I'm just talking about, general everyday folk and their clutter. And when I'm talking about decluttering, I'm not just talking about, dealing with a couple of boxes that might be in the garage. I'm talking the entire house, top to bottom. I'm talking clothes, kitchen crockery, carpets, furniture, paintings, books, absolutely every aspect of every room in your life, decluttering and being ruthless, absolutely ruthless. I'm going to talk in another video about priorities and absolute essential needs, and then a kind of a scale of lesser needs. The fact is, the majority of us have way more stuff than we need. It's crazy. If you look at all your stuff and think about how much money you've spent on stuff, it's bonkers. What's really, really bonkers, and I've read quite a lot on this subject because I have had to deal with a hoard in someone else's house, is how many people have a storage facility that they're paying for every month. How many people have a spare bedroom that they don't use as a spare bedroom, they literally use it for storage. Why are we keeping hold of all this stuff? How many dinner plates do you need? Perhaps you have a really beautiful dinner service of 20 place settings that you got for your wedding, and of course you're going to want to keep that. But otherwise, how many people do you actually sit down to eat at your table? 6, 8, probably at most. Christmas, Thanksgiving, maybe we seat a few more. Maybe you might have 10 or 12 people seated. Do you therefore need the 67 mugs you've got in your cupboard, the 59 bowls you've got in your cupboard, the 72 plates you've got in your cupboard? That's the level I'm speaking at for decluttering. We just don't need, this is going to be a theme, we do not need this stuff. Our kitchens alone, think about those cupboards that you rarely go into, that are stacked full of pans that you just never use, and you don't get rid of them because you think, oh, one day I might, but you haven't used them in years and years and years. Get rid of them. We're going to do 2 things with this declutter. We're going to do 3 things with the ultimate goal, which we'll come to. But decluttering, it lightens us literally and metaphorically. All this cupboards encroaching on our minds. Get rid of it, sell it. Now, in terms of selling stuff, there are all sorts of platforms, and again, depending on where you are in the world, it will depend which platform you sell on. I think we all know about eBay, don't we? eBay, there are charges, as in once you've sold your item, you get charged 10% or something of the sale. So there are fees to pay. There are some other sites. I think there's a newish one in the UK called Vinted. I keep hearing adverts for it and seeing adverts online for it, and I think there are no commissions with that. So have a little look around all these various platforms where you can sell. And when I say go through everything, I mean absolutely everything. It may take you a week to go through just one room. Be ruthless. Jewellery. I got rid of pretty much all my jewellery about 4 years ago. I don't need it. I don't need jewellery. What do I need jewellery for? I've kept my grandma's engagement ring. It's okay to keep a few bits and pieces that have sentimental value. A grandfather's pocket watch, perhaps your baby's first little bracelet, that sort of thing. Just a few little items. But the chances are, most of you have got 3 or 4 watches kicking around in the bottom of a drawer. Maybe they're broken, maybe there's nothing wrong with them, but your taste changed. Sort them out, get them out. Things like jewellery, it may be that you don't sell them on an auction platform like eBay, but you take them to a specialist dealer. If you think something has a bit more value than your average second-hand item, you know, get a valuation for it. Maybe take it to a jeweller, see what they will offer you. That will give you an idea, if you then do want to sell it on an auction site yourself, of what to make as a sort of a bottom line price. Same with clothes. Probably the vast majority of our clothes get them sold online. If you've got genuine vintage items, I'm talking clothes that are sort of 30, 40 years old or more, again, it might be worth exploring a specialist clothes retailer, vintage clothes. How many of us have, you know, 10, 12, 14 pairs of jeans in the cupboard? How many of us need that many pairs of jeans? I mean, you know, maybe a cowgirl wants a new pair of, or a clean pair of jeans on every day, so you'd have 7 pairs of jeans for the whole week of cowgirling. But really, how many of us, you know, 2 or 3 pairs of jeans is sufficient. You might have a pair that's really kind of crappy knackered looking that you use when you're decorating the house, and maybe you've got a pair that you like to wear when you're gardening, and then you've got a smart pair, your smart pair of jeans for wearing to the pub or going out to a restaurant, whatever it is. But yeah, this is what I mean about the level of ruthlessness. You don't need 17 pairs of jeans. So yeah, go through the whole house. It's not just about decluttering, it's about releasing all this. You've got assets there. Okay, they're not worth much individually. They'll probably not be worth anything like you've paid for it. You don't need it, you don't use it, get it sold. Especially if you've got a storage unit that you're paying for every month. That is an expense that to me is ridiculous. Why are we all so desperately clinging to stuff? That's a question you should ask yourself, actually. Why are you desperately clinging to it? And of course, there are some things which are sentimental. I've got minimum stuff in my flat. Bits and bobs of furniture belonged to my grandparents, so I like to have them here. I like to use them. But it is the bare minimum. I've got what I need and no more. Excuse me. So the whole thing about, say, the storage unit, like the spare bedroom, this is what I'm coming on to. If you're living in a property that's bigger than you actually need for living in, and you're living there because of all your stuff, I know so many folk, I think around our age, kids have left home, you know, you're left rattling around in this big family home, and it seems daunting, the idea to downsize, which is what I'm going to suggest. It seems daunting because you've got this house full of stuff. If you get rid of the stuff, I mean, it is kind of like, it's simple, but emotionally difficult. I get that it's emotionally difficult. But really, we should all be able to, as one person, we should all be able to live perfectly happily in 300 or 400 square feet. So if you're paying out on the remains of a mortgage, storage units, whatever it is, if you're paying this money out purely because there's too much stuff in your life, that to me is bonkers. Get rid of it, sell it. And you see the other thing I talked about this a little bit when I did a video ages ago on this thing called the gentle art of Swedish death cleaning. God knows, I hope I'm on this planet for a few more years. I hope there's another sort of 40, 50 years in me. We're quite a long-lived family, the women in my family anyway. But, you know, there's going to come a point when I pop my clogs, I'm done, I'm over. If I've got mountains of stuff, I am leaving my family a nightmare to deal with. What are they supposed to do with all my stuff, you know? So yeah, don't hang on to it. Oh, see, this is another thing you could think about in this clutter clearing. If you've got your eye on a few items and you're thinking, oh, I'd like to pass it on to my son, my daughter, I'd like to pass it on to my grandchildren, whatever it is, pass it on now. Pass it on now. Now they can make use of it. They'll enjoy making use of it. Or the other thing is, check with them that they actually want it. This can be a bit of a tricky subject, because you may adore a piece that you have, a piece of furniture, jewellery, and you're so looking forward to passing it on to your daughter, but your daughter actually hates it, thinks it's ugly, lumpy, old-fashioned, whatever it is. So have that frank, honest discussion together to say, would you like this? And if your daughter says, oh, I love it, I love that item, give it to her now, let her enjoy it now. Likewise, if she says, oh, really sorry, Mum, I'm just not that keen on it, get it sold. So, be ruthless, sell, 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 sell. And all of that money that you generate from everything you sell, don't go mad with it. It's not for spending. We're coming on to no spending in a minute. It is not for spending. It is for getting rid of some of your debt, whether that's paying off a chunk of the mortgage, whether it's paying off credit cards. I think the financial advisors advise that you pay off the things that have got the highest interest rate. That kind of makes sense because you're paying so much more in interest all the time. So yeah, get your stuff sold, use it to pay down some of your debt. Then, when you suddenly have this lovely, free, liberating, space everywhere, this is a really hard one, but think about downsizing. You know, if you're on your own, or even in a couple, do you really need a 3-bedroom house? You know, if you move to a 2-bedroom house, you've still got a spare room for family to come and visit. You've still got a spare room that could be a study, a workspace, sewing space. Oh, how lovely. But yeah, it's definitely something to consider. I can't downsize from here because there's nothing smaller than a studio flat. I know that's a massive, massive, massive emotional big one to deal with. At least sow the seed now. Get on with that decluttering and selling. Sow the seed and think. Start looking. Start seeing what's out there. Let that seed grow. The other thing... Oh, there's so many notes I want to... Right. The other thing I'm going to suggest, and this is a big challenge, you will find it a big challenge, but it will be good preparation for later down the line. I'm going to challenge you to have a whole year of no spend. Now, when I say no spend, obviously you're going to pay your bills still, your essential bills. Obviously you're still going to buy food, but that's it. No spending on anything else. Keep records. That will help to keep you motivated. If you are still working, just really simple little things like don't ever buy your lunch while you're at work, whether it's the work canteen, whether you pop out to the local supermarket for one of these meal deals. How much are they these days? About £3.50? £17.50 for 5 days of buying a packed lunch. Now, I'm sure a lot of you already don't do that, but if you're still buying lunch out and coffee out, stop. I was thinking about this early this morning, that if you got 5 meal deals a week and 1 takeaway coffee, that's 20 quid a week. That's £1,000 is it 1,000? 20 times 50, it's £1,000 in a year. £1,000 for a crappy sandwich from Tesco's and a takeaway coffee. That is crazy. So yeah, challenge yourself. I'm challenging you to have a no spend year. It does mean you have to be considerably more organised, probably. You might have to think about making lunches on a Sunday for the rest of the week, or getting up half an hour earlier in the morning in order to make your own packed lunch. Invest, you are allowed to buy this, invest in your own coffee mug thing. If you really feel the need to drink coffee on the train in the morning, rather than, you know what, just drink your cup of coffee in the house in the morning before you leave for work. But if you really do need to have one on the train, spend a few quid buying one of those, you know, insulated kind of coffee mug type things. Make it at home to then later on have on the train. No spending. Think about right now. Think about, you know what your annual, on say a monthly basis, you know what your monthly income is, and you know that at the end of the month there's none of it left. But can you really say where all that money has gone? Yes, the obvious, the mortgage, the bills, the credit cards, what have you. But where did that other 300 quid go? It just gets frittered, it disappears. If you're into having a takeout every Friday, you know, you're snuggling up on the sofa and you call the pizza parlour, oh, we'll have a takeout pizza. How much does a 12-inch pizza cost these days? 10 quid? I don't know. How much would it cost from the supermarket? £2.50? Maybe? So yeah, goodbye takeaways. Goodbye buying a sandwich on your way to work on the hoof. No spend. Now, I know quite a few folk have challenged themselves to do it for a month. That's great. Have a go for a month. The thing about doing no spend for a month is it really isn't going to give you a true picture. Because let's face it, during that month, you might think, oh, it'd be really nice to have a day out. Oh, we'll do it next month when we can spend again. No spend means you have to get a bit more creative, a bit more imaginative. You can still have your days out, but you're not spending on your day out. It's tough, but I think just bear two things in mind. One, you're going to give yourself a taster of what this future life that you're aiming for is going to be like, but also all that money that you're not spending each month, again, boom, whack it into paying off your debt. If your priority at the moment is to pay off your mortgage, you need to become a no spender. Literally every penny over those basics of bills and food, it's going to pay off your mortgage. If that's what you want, if you want to be mortgage free, you're going to have to reconcile yourself to going without a lot of stuff. And it may be quite a bit harder than you think. So giving it a go now whilst you are still in work, I think is a really good idea. Now, the other thing is, if you're planning to go either wage-free, debt-free, early retirement, whatever it is, and you're thinking that you will help to support yourself in future by, for example, selling your craft, whether you knit or sew or paint, you make pottery, or you think, I'd like to, set up my own little thing where I'm selling secondhand baby clothes, for example. Whatever it is, start it now. Don't wait until you've left work to start it. So, for example, let's say you're wanting to sell your craft, going the route I've gone with selling my sewing. Start right now by launching yourself across the social media platforms, because this is how we all sell these days, is through social media. That's how you're going to reach an audience for your sales. A bricks and mortar shop, I would love a bricks and mortar shop, but the costs involved are hideous, and then you're totally reliant on the footfall in that local area, and if the footfall isn't great, whereas the potential for online selling is the entire world. So start that now. Think about setting up a Facebook page that's not you personally, but that's for your new little enterprise that you're thinking of further down the line. Get a Facebook page set up. Think about setting up a web page. There are loads of free websites available, website building tools available. Mine, I started with WordPress. I'm still on that. It does cost me now that I've introduced the shop, but before I introduced the shop, it was free. So it's a great platform for you to blog about what you're doing and show some of your products off. So yeah, get all that sort of social media stuff started and set up now. Start to explore the various ways that you can sell online, whether it's through something like Etsy. I think most of us have heard of Etsy these days. There are all sorts of platforms that you can sell on. The thing is, they all come with a charge. There are fees, commissions, what have you. And when I looked into it, I decided not to go the Etsy route. The charge that my shop is a fixed cost. I liked that rather than the percentage commission on Etsy, because that's, that can fluctuate. Also, I wanted to have that more control and individual. I wanted it to be more individual. But yeah, this is all part of this year of no spending. You're going to be doing a lot of homework. You're going to be rummaging through every single box. You're going to be photographing stuff, selling it through eBay, all your junk. You're going to be exploring setting up your business. I say business, your crafting business. You're going to be start making now. Actually, you're going to be really, really, really busy, but that might be good. That might distract you from the fact that, you want to go to the pictures. You normally go to the pictures every Friday night. But now, in your year of no spend, you're not going to the pictures. Watch a telefilm. A film on telly. Watch, there's so many ways you can watch films. Okay, it may not be the latest release. Watch your film, but while you're doing it, be doing something at the same time. Be doing your knitting, your sewing, your crafting, whatever it is. Start building up your stock. But definitely use the opportunity to look across all those different selling platforms to see which one you think suits you, both financially, but also the look of the site. Because so much of online selling is about the look. You're creating a look and an identity. The thing about doing all of this now, while you are still working, is you'll suddenly find you have no free time. And like I say, that might be a good thing, because free time, boredom, you start browsing and shopping, don't you? Well, I know some people do. But I think it's also going to be a good practice for later on, when you are early retirement, wage free or whatever, more about sort of being wage free. Suddenly your hours will be very, very, very full, because it will take you more hours to earn enough money to pay your bills than it did when you were working for a boss. Excuse me. So I think if you give yourself this wage-free year, if you give yourself this no-spend year, spend time exploring different platforms for selling your junk, spend time sorting your junk out. There are things which you may be wanting to wash things, clean things, repair things before you photograph them. It's going to take up quite a lot of time. There's going to be quite a lot of time taken up posting things. Keep your eye out outside shops for boxes. Put a note out into your local Facebook groups that you would like people's bubble wrap. If they've got an excess of bubble wrap they want to get rid of, I try to use reused bubble wrap as often as possible. Better for the environment, apart from anything else. But yeah, you are going to be, if you're serious about going this route, you're going to be really busy for a whole year. But that's great prep for the busyness that you will experience afterwards. And you know, even if it's not about going wage free, but maybe you're a couple and maybe one of you wants to go wage free. Maybe you've got kids and you want one parent to be at home or for the sake of being with the kids, and it just doesn't seem financially possible. Explore all these things I'm talking about. Undoubtedly, I think it's harder when there are other family members involved. It's easier when you're on your own because there's no one else's feelings or needs to consider. But yeah, it's definitely worth exploring all these ideas. Something else to work towards, if you don't already, is one of the reasons I'm able to do this is because I'm so grateful for it. I'm so grateful. Is I've got that little bit of land to grow some food on. If I was still buying all of that food, gosh, I would need more income from somewhere. So again, during your new spend year, really explore the possibility of growing some of your own food. Look at allotments near you. Now, I know that so many allotment sites have horrendous waiting lists. You never know though. Even if there are waiting lists, put your name down, because I was mentioning this the other day. It may be that the 10 people above you on the waiting list, it may be that they've moved home, they've left the area. So when they get the call, there's a plot free, they say, oh, well, we don't need it now, we've left the area. You never know. Also in your area, look into, I know there was a scheme started in the UK about 5 years ago, I can't remember the name of it, sorry, but it's like a sort of garden sharing scheme, whereby a homeowner had a garden they weren't really using and they were happy for someone else to come in and use it, grow your own veggies. Of course, that's slightly trickier because, I don't know, you'd have to have some sort of contract, but if that homeowner then left, you'd lose that bit of garden. But explore whatever space you've got, and also use this year to watch YouTube videos about how to grow your own food. There is so much information out there about growing your own gorgeous veggies. Start to use this year to watch those videos, to read those books, get acquainted with your library, borrow, because obviously you're not going to be buying books, are you? I'm doing myself a disservice here, aren't I? Don't buy anything except my bunting. Yeah, use this year to start to learn about growing, explore in your area the possibility of getting some space somewhere through whatever scheme is available. Do your research. This is the other thing, I think, when you want to live without very much money, you become a really thorough researcher. You look into every possibility. I'm going to talk in more detail in the next video about saving the pennies and, you know, being really ruthless with that. But one of the other things to do during your year of no spend is just look really closely at all your outgoings, because you will still have bills this year, of course you will. I know it's something that a lot of folk dread. There's that drawer or box somewhere that you shove all the bills and your paperwork that comes in. Some things you pay annually, some things you pay monthly, whatever it is. Get it all out. Make a list of every single outgoing that your home has, apart from, you know, the little bits and bobs of spends for clothes, food, all those kind of things. all those bills that you are regularly paying, either by direct debit, standing order. Look at your bank account. Hopefully most of us have got bank accounts online now, so you can check what all your direct debits are, your standing orders. Be really thorough and think about which ones of them can go. But more of that in the savings video. So I think, I'm sorry, my head is down. I wrote a gazillion notes of things I wanted to talk about. But I think we'll leave it there for today, because I know I've gabbled on a lot. So I'm just going to sort of précis those points again. One of the best things, one of the biggest ways to save a whole load of money is to live in a smaller home, is to downsize. Whether you do it for downsizing or not, the route to that is to get rid of stuff. If you're paying for a storage unit, please, within minutes of finishing watching this video, look in your diary, find a time when you can go over to your storage unit and start to get it cleared out, because that to me is it's a crazy expense to pay for another room on the other side of town, because that's pretty much what you're doing, is paying for a room somewhere. So downsize. Before that happens, have a massive, ruthless, it isn't even declutter, it's free yourself of that stuff and sell it. Explore where you're going to sell it, sell it. Use that money to pay off some of your debt. Use this year to be no spend apart from absolute essentials, bills, food, travel, if you're having to travel to work. Use this year to establish your social media platforms if you are hoping to do some sort of cottage industry later on to keep yourself going. Use this year to explore if you can rent a bit of land, a bit of space somewhere, so you can start to think about growing your own food. Use this year to explore how to grow your own food. Use this year to become canny, to become an expert, to become beyond frugal. More than anything, use this year to experience what it's like to work 7 days a week, pretty much, for not a huge amount of money. Learn what it's like to go without a whole load of stuff that you've been accustomed to, but also learn how fantastic that can feel. That's the bottom line. To be your own boss, to be out of debt. I mean, I can't say how huge that is. Learn what it's like to be free of all that stuff that's been on your mind for months, if not years. That cupboard that needs addressing. Yeah. Have a learning year. Have a really tough, hard-working year. But it's all getting you prepared for what you actually want later on. An early retirement with a small fixed income. A wage-free life with a little cottage industry on the side. A debt-free life, even if you carry on working, to just get rid of those debts. Glorious. So, right, I'm going to leave it there now, but I hope that's given you some good ideas. I hope, you know what, I hope in some ways it has kind of maybe frightened you all a bit, who were thinking of it. I don't mean frighten you in a horrible way, but frighten you as in I don't know if I can do it. Challenge yourself, because you know what, if you don't try, you don't know. And you may be amazed at what you're capable of. So why don't you give yourself an opportunity to find out just how amazing you are, what a star you are, and how you can take back a bit of control over your life. I think that's one of the big things, isn't it? All right, lovelies, please look after yourselves, stay well. I'll see you all again really soon, probably in the garden, because it's that time of year. But I'm going to do another video. I might actually record it right now. I'm going to have a cup of tea first, but to just talk about saving the pennies and being really, really brutal. Whatever it is, I will see you again really soon. In the meantime, cheerio for now, everyone.